September the 7th, 2024. Guys, the skies have cleared up here. They were early this morning, and it's been a fabulous fall-like day here in central Mississippi. And we may have some more rain coming in with the systems that are going to reemerge out of the Gulf after they combine. We may get some more, but we got a few days of drying, and that's great also. But what you're looking at, guys, this is from NOAA, and we're looking down on top of the Earth. This is the North Pole, the Arctic. And let me zoom this up. There's a couple of things I want to point out here. This gray X right there, that's kind of the pole, or the North Pole, the physical pole of the planet. Not the magnetic pole, but that's the physical pole right there. Let me get it up. Can you see it? And just to the left of it, you see this curve right there? Just curves right around it like that, and there's the physical pole. Now, you've seen this curve before, and you've seen it in other videos of mine, but they weren't showing this particular view of the maps. We were looking at the wind speeds during the Arctic Vortex series we were talking about, all coming together at the North Pole, at the physical pole, and we would always see this curve right there. In the summer, it's less obvious, but in the winter, it gets more obvious because of the higher wind speeds at the Arctic. But they're still there now. I just want you to point that out. It's not showing that much of this, maybe a few peaks could be out of the water, because they usually will draw lines around the land mass, see how these islands are and stuff like that. But there's that curve right there. That's not what the video is about, but I wanted to point that out. We may just go over there before it's over with. But here is, I think, one of the greatest fault zones on the planet, if not the largest. The reason I say that is every fault zone that goes, if it goes from down through California, if it goes to Russia, through Kamchatka, it goes through the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which this goes down through this way over Iceland, they all come together at this point. And that may be important in what we're seeing in the rapid movement of our magnetic, not the physical pole, but the magnetic pole. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Again, pull this back some. Here is Greenland. This is Iceland. Of course, Canada, Hudson Bay. Back it out. That's as far as this Mercator section, or the Arctic section, will go. But again, you've got Alaska and Russia going out from there. Let's pull this back up. And again, I want to do something with this. I want to show you, we're going to go to 1590 right there. This was the magnetic pole location in 1590 right there. Then this is the physical pole, not the magnetic pole. And I'm going to change this. We're going to go to the Mercator map here. Just click there. I'll put a link to this if you want to check it out. You can have the Antarctic also. And what we're seeing, guys, here's Greenland. Iceland's right there. Here's the U.S. Here's the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Here is your San Andreas Fault. Here's this Alaskan Fault that goes the Aleutians around the Ring of Fire. But this area, again, that we were looking at, that's above this, above Greenland, we can't see it on this map, is much wider than the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is here. And because this is part of the reason I'm doing the programming, we know that the Mid-Atlantic Ridge that comes up here runs through Iceland, and it kind of dog legs out here, comes up to these islands, another dog leg, and it moves up here. But the thing I want you to notice is, again, here is Iceland, the depth and the thickness. It's pretty deep. It's got mountain ridges, undersea and all, and then you have a very deep section there. But notice when we get up here, it's much deeper and much wider. Look at that. It's the most dangerous fault on the planet, again, because it's tied to all the other faults that run around our planet. Every one of them come to a head right here and on the Antarctic. So when you start getting the magnetic pole very close to this area, what happens? We've seen it many times. You have a lot of solar flares, things like that, CMEs. It hits the magnetic shields of our planet, and it's fed in from the top, comes out the bottom, the energy. And you see that heat change into volcanic activity, earthquake activity, and things like that. But again, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is small, or is at least a third smaller than this fault zone here. Check that out. And actually that curve corresponds to the curve that we were talking about here on the north, or the north physical pole, right there. And they correspond as if almost if they were connected. But this thing, guys, is very deep and very big. And it's important because this can control all the other fault zones on the Earth once it's impacted. Now, let's go to our Mercator map. Now, this is one of the reasons I'm here. I've got this set back to 1590. It goes to 2025, which we're just a few months away from. But this is the location of the magnetic pole, not the physical pole, which is up above this, in 1590. Now, I want you to kind of focus on a square, kind of like right here for the next 400 years, right in this area, right there. So let's go up to, let's say there's 1696, 1700, we'll say 109 years. Hasn't moved that much. Watch the movement. I'm going to go 100 years further, to the 1800s, early 1800s. Not much movement, drifted south and southeast. Let's go up to the 1900s here. Not much movement at all. Now we're talking about, we'll just average from 1600 to 1900, 300 years of movement from right here to right here. Now let's go up into the middle of this century. Let's see, this would be right there, 1967. We got some slight movement north, right? We'll go to a little further on the map, 1986. Still a little movement back to the north. There's been a curve there. Let's see where this gets us, 2002. Now you're starting to see the most movement there, but right here at 1996, it's still kind of on the shore of the outer islands. Now, just for impact, I'm going to go from 1996, and we've been, what have we been now, 1996, 1590s, 400 years basically, guys, of movement right in this area, right? So I'm going to go just to 2025, and we'll back up to 2024. Again, guys, you don't even see it. Let me pull this map down. You see this green dot right there? That's how much, say in the last 50 years or so, that it's changed. For over 400 years, it stayed in this section. Now, suddenly, well, let's go back to this year. All you got to do is bump the arrows 2024. See that? And my question is, guys, why such rapid movement? We're going to change this up a little bit to where you can look at it at a different angle. But that's amazing. And another report came out that was talking about the ice sheets melting because of global warming. But the new report is showing out that the heat is coming from volcanic activity under the ice, under these large fault zones. That's where the heat is coming from. And so that kind of blows the global warming because of man-made carbohydrates or whatever, that it blows that away. We got a heating earth. God said this time it will not be destroyed by water but by fire. And I've talked about this before 2 or 3 times on different shows, is that why would it be fire this time instead of water? Because one thing, the pollution, that's a major thing. You've got oil leaking over in the Red Sea, you got it leaking in the Gulf of Mexico, off the African coast. And as the nations collapse and the infrastructure collapses, who's going to man those rigs out in the Gulf of Mexico, for example, the hundreds there? But that doesn't even compare to the ones around the planet. They're going to rust away and the oil is going to leak out. A flood wouldn't do it. It says he has to burn those elements to make this new world. So another flood would do is wash the oil up into local places, like in the coves of the highest mountains and things like that, and you see it when it would recede. This time it has to be fire because of what man has done to the planet. Now, let's put that info into a graph. Here, we're back in 1590. We saw a little drift in here. Mostly it stayed in this entire area, for over 400 years, right through here. Then the rapid acceleration to where, well, this is, we'll go to 2024. That's 2025 there. Let's go to 2024 here. Back 1 year, right there. 1 more year, it's going to be here. Now, what's it doing? It's bringing the magnetic lines of force over the most dangerous fault areas of the planet. So the heat is now going to go in through this area. Now, let me go back to 2025, which we're almost there. Notice it's advancing right. In the next couple of years, at this rate, it could be right in the middle of this whole section. But right now, it's right above this ridge that we're seeing. But from here to here only represents about 50 years. When from there back, 400 and something years. What is causing the rapid acceleration? As it's getting closer to a balance. Guys, one of the things I think is that it's coming back to a balance. In the Catabo, the overthrow, this is before Genesis, and we talked about this on the webinar with Paul Begley, is that when it says the earth was without form, that was misinterpreted. In the Hebrew, it became. It was is not there. It says the world became void because of the first destruction of the first flood before Noah's flood, okay? And so that word is tahu, and it means complete destruction, cataclysms. And so now, if the magnetic pole is here, the earth is not in balance. The seasons are not in balance. But now it's starting to come back into meeting the center of the North Pole, the magnetic poles. And you can see it on the lines of force, that balance coming back to the center. Now, I'm going back to 1590. These are what's called the Isometric Lines, guys. They are like the magnetic lines. You've got different polarities here. Positive is red, negative is blue. The green lines is zero. In other words, it's neutral. You see that? Now, it's not in balance at all. Nothing's in balance. Here's the center. So let's just go forward to today. Look at that. All of this, now you've got four corners coming forward. Again, this is something we talked about. Bring that out a little bit. Look at the balance there. Is nature coming back into balance? Are the seasons coming back into balance? We still know we have the tribulation to go through. But I think we're seeing the last generation. Set here 400 years, and in this generation, this movement back to balance, that, again, I think we're very close. I think definitely we are part of the last generation. Again, when it's doing it, it's coming right over to where, what did Christ say? It would be the largest earthquake known to man ever, the earth has ever seen. Everything will roll and shift, the mountains, the islands, everything. Put all of this energy pulling back in to this section over the great faults would heat them and cause the magma to rise there and move out across the planet. The greatest volcanoes, the greatest earthquakes. Just think about it, guys. But let's go over to the NOAA wind speed map, and I want to point out something again. Here's the true North Pole. They're saying that the physical North Pole in this curvature. And one of the reasons I'm going back is a lot of people came in and said, BP, those lines you're showing there are stitching from the model. And they're saying and you can't see it on any other NOAA wind maps. Well, I've been busy, haven't went back and addressed that, but you can see it on all the maps. And I don't think it has nothing to do with the stitching effect of the models. I think whoever said that, a couple of people, had an initiative to cover up the information. Now let's go to the same exact area. You see the white lines right there? Let me pause that. That's the the physical North Pole right there. See that blue curve right there? It's always been there, and it shows up in these lines of force, these wind speed models. I'll show you. Go back into playing that. Pull it up. That curve is there. Why is the curve there, guys, in that blue area, even when you stop the motion? Why is that still there if it's a stitching effect? There's something there, and there's a lot of mountains that run through this region. None of those are marked as far as physically sticking above the surface, but we don't see a lot of maps from that area. But again, check that out, guys. It's not stitching, and the reason they said it was stitching because this is the only NOAA model that it was on. Now, this is one of the other maps. Here's the USA, here's or North America, Mexico, South America. Let's go right up here. Here's the poles, right there. Look down and pull this up. Same thing. You can go to every map, and they're there. So what is it? Don't know, but it matches the curve of the mountains completely there. And this doesn't change. Now, it's not as intense as we've seen it before. Why? Because it's winter in the Antarctic. When we were looking at it during the winter, and it was going crazy. But these are your lines of force. Your vortices or the weather pattern makers. Just put it over the U.S. a little bit, and you can see this dip coming down here. That's at very high altitude, but it has a lot to do with our weather changing. As we drop it in height, we'll go back down. You can see it right there, guys. You can also see this storm here and the one coming off the Yucatan on this wind map. That's going to bring some trouble to us, I'm afraid. What I'm going to do, guys, is wait for the 6 p.m. update on the National Hurricane Center, and we're going to get back to watching this. I think it's going to be critical now, so you can count on me to, at this point, keep you updated on it. But again, that's why the rapid acceleration in this generation of our magnetic pole shift after 400 years. And we don't know what happened before that. That's when you can go back then and look at the actual records from sea captains, where they were at with their charts and their all the instruments they had and their compasses, and they can chart that magnetic north. Again, guys, we're watching it. You watch it. Love to hear your comments, especially about the rapid movement. Heads up, be safe.